Hey, doing good. How are you?
I am fabulous.
That's good to hear. Sorry about the confusion. I was like, for some reason in my mind, I thought about like that we had it set up tomorrow, but then I looked at the emails when I saw your email come through, and I was like, oh man, that's today. So
I had a feel. I like for some reason I thought it was Tuesday too. Like you're not. I think it's because we're just in the house all the time, so we like
sure,
have no concept of days.
right.
So I had to set like two reminders because like I kept thinking over the weekend like, oh, it's Tuesday, and I'm like, no, I think it's Monday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. All my days are like merging together. So like I don't even know I mean I do, but it's kind of like it's not important anymore.
it's
What day
weird.
is
It
what?
feels like one giant weekend,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
like the only reason I have some sort of concept of time is because my husband's going into work like 3 days a week.
Mhm.
Um, he he's he directs a team who works for he works for a specialty chemical company.
Oh, okay.
So they make food additives. So because
Oh,
of that,
interesting.
considered essential. So he's going into the lab like 3 days a week. So that's the only reason I know
Right.
what day it is because when he goes into work.
Right. You're like that's how you mark your like you know how people used to mark time like by stars and stuff. You just
Now
mark
it's
it
by like
by
when he leaves. Yeah,
yeah.
pretty
That's
much.
funny. So how is like the whole corona thing working for you as far as like what how's that affected your life?
To be honest, I know how lucky I've been in the situation, being that I'm in Northeast New Jersey, which is one of the
Mhm.
hardest hit areas in the
Yeah.
country. It's
Yeah.
really, really crazy here. And the density of people is just nuts. But overall, um, I know this is going to sound like really horrible, but I really haven't minded it that much. I'm working from home, which again, I understand how lucky I am that I'm still getting paid and,
Sure.
all that. But I've been able to get tons of sleep, recovery, mobility, flexibility,
Yeah.
yoga, training. And, it's just been kind of like all the things that you wish you had time to do. Everyone says, oh, I wish I had time to do this. Oh, I wish I had time to work on that. Well, now's when I have the time to actually do it.
Absolutely. No, I completely understand where you're coming from. I'm kind of in the same boat. I work from home, so for me it's kind of like it didn't really change much.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that it really changed is that like I used to see my grandmother like every weekend. Now I avoid that because I don't know if
Are you
I'm
doing FaceTime with her and stuff?
yeah, here and there, as much as I can. But yeah, but it's that's the only thing, and then, it kind of sucks. But sometimes I'll like just come visit her like through the glass door and stuff. But
Aw.
yes, I know, very cute. And
That's what
but
we started quarantining our grandmother before this even started. She had
mhm,
like, she's like COPD and stuff like that. So
mhm.
we're like, we're not allowed near you. So that poor woman's been quarantined since like the end of February, like before it really got locked down. I feel so bad. That's the
Yeah,
worst part is that, you don't get that connection. You're like
sure.
waving from across the lawn. It's a
Sure,
lot.
it's different. Like I was talking to
Yeah.
my wife about how, like this is like a change of times. Like it's a like um like there's pre-World War I and post-World War I world.
Mhm.
This is like pre-corona and post-corona world. Like things have I think the way people think, the way people like act. Now, we're not even when if or when corona goes away, I think we're still gonna be cautious of how we like get how close we get. Like things are just gonna be different. Like the world is different,
And
at
that's
this point.
unfortunate because I don't want to be afraid of people, which right
Sure.
now, especially in this area, I am. I'm very conscious of the fact that
Sure. Yeah.
I kind of assume when I go out that anyone's a possibility of being infected. So it's like,
Absolutely.
even with my neighbor, I live in a two family home. We rent the
Mhm.
bottom floor, so I've got neighbors. And
Right.
even when we go outside to take out the trash, it's like we have to like keep away from each other, and it's just bizarre. It's just weird. It's just
Sure,
weird,
sure. It's
you
it's
know?
an odd way to live.
Yeah,
The crazy thing is it's gonna become more normal to be like that. That's what's scary. It's like
yeah.
eventually that's gonna be like your norm, and you're not gonna even think that it's different. Yeah, that's tough. And I mean, I do think it's like place dependent because
Yes,
in your area, it's so
it's
rampant.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
What
crazy.
do you attribute that to? Like, there's some theories out there, but what do
I
you
mean, I
attribute?
think it's really population density, and you got to think that New York is such a hub for travel.
Sure.
So before we even had a grasp of the concept of how quickly this thing spreads, just in, throwing a rock, you hit LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark. And
Yeah.
then you have, the public transit system, which services all the tri-state area, which is New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And
Right.
just how many millions and millions and millions of people are in a very small area. For instance, my county, just my Bergen County, we have 1 million people here. Just in my
Wow.
little county in the
Yeah.
little corner of New Jersey. So it's just the population density is intense, and
Yeah.
the amount of travel is intense. So, people flying in and out of New York, coming in on the trains, all that stuff. And then easily from here, you can go to, if you're heading up to Connecticut or you're going down to DC, like on the Acela train, or going up to
Hmm.
Boston, it's like everything kind of congregates in New York and then spreads out from there, which is
Hmm.
kind of what happened with the disease.
Yeah. It was scary to like listen to the news of what was going on in New York, because it was so fast, like extremely, like,
Wild,
yeah,
right?
increasing like fire, just
It's
going.
crazy.
Yeah. And so I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and we, like, as I was watching New York, we started getting like 1 or 2 cases. Then it jumped to like 12 cases. Literally within months, we were like thousands of cases. Like, it was, yeah, it's scary. Now, like, to take a more of a fitness twist to one theory that I heard, and I don't know, maybe you can get some input on it. Um, they were saying that obesity is very high in New York too. And it was like, because it's a compromise, because if you have a compromised immune system, and they consider obesity as an issue with that it can affect you more, if you're obese, the corona is more of, like, it has more of an effect on your chance of
Mhm.
hurting you. Like, yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think if anyone has any underlying condition, any disease is gonna affect.
Hmm.
If if any underlying disease and you get the flu, like, you have the
Right.
potential, or bronchitis,
Right.
or, anything like that. I think
Right.
underlying issues, and obviously obesity leads
Sure.
to that, but I wouldn't necessarily say that that's like a focal sticking point. I just
Right.
think also you really have to look at like socioeconomic issues, and I really don't even want to go into all that because everyone has an opinion about that sort of thing. But
Sure.
if you're overall, yeah, I mean, I think if you have underlying health conditions, you've got a crazy disease, you're more likely to get sick.
Yeah. I mean, you can address something if you want to, like, if you want to talk about something that when you say socioeconomic, well, like, what do you mean?
So, I mean, even Governor Cuomo made the point, I think it was
Mhm.
like last week or whatnot, that a lot of these essential workers are sort of lower paying, lower wage jobs, which a lot of
Sure.
people of color end up having these
Right.
jobs.
Right.
And you also have to think of the socioeconomic status of people as a whole. And it is unfortunate, but it's just a fact that a lot of people of color don't have the best access to healthcare and don't make
Right.
a ton of money. So
Hmm.
because of that, they're put in these compromised positions where they are these essential workers that are still out there. Meanwhile, the rest of us are staying home. So you find that it was said that African Americans are more prevalent of dying from this disease, and maybe it's
Yeah.
like, well, maybe it's because they're out there as essential workers in the workforce. Meanwhile, everyone else is kind of staying home. So
Sure.
there is like that disparity that you could talk about. That
Sure. No. I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from. I
yeah.
think I think actually, like, Beyonce put something out about something like that, like a little clip of that,
Hmm.
of mentioning that. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you keep, facts are facts. So I mean, if it's affecting a particular race or ethnic group heavily, I mean, there's got to be a reason, right?
Yeah, I don't
You
think that
know,
necessarily African American versus white, Hispanic, whatever, that one race is necessarily more
right,
susceptible. I think that that doesn't make any sense. I just think
right.
the position that people are being put in, you think about all the MTA workers and stuff like that. They're
Sure,
out there every single
sure.
day transferring all of the people that work in the hospitals, and it's if you're
Yeah,
out there during this, you're probably going to get it.
right. You're prone to,
Think about
especially in your
all the
area.
healthcare workers just as a
Yeah,
whole that have gotten infected. That
yeah,
has nothing
yeah.
to do with race or, like that. It's just They're
Right.
there around the sick people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I think disease plays a part in race or ethnicity when it's genetic, because it kind
Yes.
of it passes
Yeah.
from, one, like, from your gene pool. But
Mhm.
if we're talking about viral things that you
Yes.
catch, I mean, that doesn't, that
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense of ethnic group. It's more like where you are, what you're coming in contact with,
Yeah.
how you're protecting yourself, like
Mhm.
that, those kind of things. So yeah, I'm definitely an interesting time that we live in. So
And everybody's like, I mean, just this is off. Everyone's just gotten so crazy,
yeah,
right? Like, I
yeah.
feel like Instagram is kind of crazy right now.
What do you mean? Like,
Like, like you look on Instagram and it's just, I guess, it's such a hard thing and it affects everybody and everyone has a different opinion and everyone has
right.
a different feeling and no one's opinion no one's right or wrong. There is
Hmm.
no right or wrong feeling or right or wrong answer because this is all basically like a crapshoot. Like nobody really knows what the hell's going on,
Right, right.
and it's just really interesting because people get so passionate about it. And I just
Yeah.
feel like for a while, Instagram was just a little crazy. There was a lot of conspiracy theories going on, a lot of
Hmm.
people a lot of trolling going on. It was a
Yeah.
little crazy for a while.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, I think to a degree it still is, but I think we're running into like, it's becoming a normalcy now.
Yeah,
Like I told you earlier, it's like now, because it's like, instead of this is like something crazy that happened, now it's becoming like, oh, this is just the way we
it
live
is.
now.
Like it's
Yeah.
happening, accept it. Now it's like, okay,
Right.
now what do we do?
Right. But yeah, so on that point, I think people have some valid points and different ideas and so forth. What I don't like is when people say like wild stuff. Like there was a guy, I was listening to his podcast, and I mean, everything that he was talking about was basically just putting down the effects of the virus. And then he was saying like, oh well, basically, I mean, I'm not gonna like quote him or anything, but basically to the point, like, it's not a big deal, things are getting better, we need to like start like opening everything up, like basically just downplaying all the effects. And to me, that's kind of like wild talk, because it's, I mean, obviously people are still being affected, people are still like dying, it's still spreading. So when someone that's popular like him says that, I have a problem with that, because
Mhm,
people listen to him,
mhm,
and then you have like people listen to him and then going out and not protecting themselves, not like treating like it doesn't exist, like.
mhm.
And so I don't know, it's what do you think?
One of the big things about this disease is that it's not about you. Like,
Mm,
it's not about me. Me wearing gloves, me wearing a mask, me social distancing has nothing to do with protecting me and has everything to do with protecting everybody else. And that's kind of like this thing that they really don't talk about on the news. And I really feel like they don't make a big deal about.
right.
It's not about, like, you have to be very selfless in
Hmm.
that I'm not, the reason you protect and the reason you social distance isn't for me, it's for your neighbor, it's for your neighbor's mother, it's for like the kids down the street, it's for everybody else.
Right.
So people I just think inherently are selfish. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that, I'm not, I'm just saying in
Oh
general
yeah, I agree.
people
Yeah.
are, and people don't want to be told what to do. Nobody wants to be told what to do.
Right.
So if you tell somebody to do something, they just like, well, I don't want to do that. It's like, well, it's not really about you, but
Yeah, yeah. There's still like, I still see people even after, the CDC has put out like masks are absolutely necessary. I still constantly see people not wearing masks. Sometimes even people that are, you would consider in like the
a
group,
risk category.
yeah, risk
Mhm.
categories. Like I'm like, are you guys like, I just don't understand. Like like, I'm trying to think, is it too difficult? Are you like, I get it. Okay, I get out of my car and I forget to put on the mask, and I'm like, maybe I can just run in here. But then I'm like, no, let me go ahead and put on this mask. So
Mhm.
I don't know what's going through somebody's mind when they, you know, my wife is a nurse, and she, like she says, people still like, they told them, only if it's critical, right? Like come in, and people are still like in the risk categories coming in, just for like, she's in dermatology. So not everything there is serious. There's, you could have a, I don't know,
Yeah.
ingrown hair, and then you could have skin cancer. So if there's skin cancer, they want you to come in. But if you're not,
Very
but if it,
degrees of severity.
right, and you still have people coming in just for simple things. They're like older, and she's like, why did you come in here? Like,
people are stubborn and people don't really know what to do, and people are probably sick of being in their house, or they see the numbers going down, so like, oh, it's fine, and oh, not really.
Yeah, tough. So
it's really interesting, at least so like in areas where it's not as crowded, it's not a one size fits all, you know, in my opinion. It's just, I get it. Like if you live in an area where there's nothing going on, everyone's already been quarantined for like 45, 60 days or whatnot, I don't see, you know, the harm in trying to slowly open things up as long as people are still like wearing masks, social distancing, at least for a period to get people out. Like, I get that. What's interesting in this area is how they're going to start reopening, going back to fitness, since this is a fitness podcast.
Yeah, of course.
Going back to, you know, the gyms and stuff, and talking with some of the gym owners in the area, you know, just good, tight-knit community. We all talk. So the one of the gym owners was saying that he had to go to a seminar with all the other local gym owners. And basically what they said to them is like, okay, you're going to be able to open at 50% capacity. They didn't say anything about limiting hours, but they said 50% capacity. And then they said that everybody's got to have their temperature screened when they come in. And like, there are all these other, you know, cleaning procedures that need to be in place. So on the surface, you're just like, oh, well, that's not that bad. But when you think about when you're running a gym and you have the different fluctuations, think about, you know, your morning rush. During the day, it's empty. And then you've got your 5 to 8 where it's just insane. So I'm curious to see how gym owners handle that and what they think is the best way to sort of placate everyone, but also stay within the restrictions that are needed. Like, are they going to do like time slots? Like essentially you can sign up for certain time blocks, or are they going to go by like last names? Like, are they, okay, everybody with the last name A through M comes in Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And like, I don't know. I'm just curious how they're going to do that.
Yeah. That's an interesting point. And I mean, I actually, like, that's not a bad idea to just do it like by last names, or like
make it so that there's no preferential treatment, you know? So it's like everyone has an equal chance, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Right. I mean, that sounds like a good idea. On that point, I don't know if you feel this way, but like sometimes I feel like the powers that be, like whatever it is, whether it's gym owners, whether it's like the government or whatever, they do things and to say like, oh, well, this helps, but it doesn't really help. And you probably don't understand what I'm talking about, but I'm going to make it a little clear that when you were talking about the temperature, like that really doesn't tell you much, if anything. I mean, if they're actively sick at that point, you know, heavily sick, then maybe, but it's like you could still have the virus, check your temperature and walk. It happens all the time. So you know, that doesn't, I wonder if that's just for show, like for people, just to show people, oh, well, we're being proactive, you know.
And you know about bodybuilders and competitors is depending on what people are doing and if they're in prep or what supplements they're on or yada, yada, yada. Someone's temperature could just be elevated because that's just their temperature.
If they're like running DMP or something.
So like, you know, you could get like, okay, denied. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, my husband brought that point up, like, that's kind of unfair to some people, but I mean, I guess they're trying.
Yeah, they're trying. Yeah, it's going to be interesting and I don't know if I'm going to even go. I might initially just kind of wait
people
it
are saying that too. Like, do I even want to go initially?
Right. Because I mean, I've kind of since and we can talk about your setup at home, but since I've been at home, I've kind of like picked up more weights, like bought more stuff, like so my home gym is now like a little better than it was before Corona, and so
everybody's home gym is
so I don't know if I want to go back initially, at least.
Some people have some sweet setups,
right?
Like, legit setups. And I'm like, damn, I can't believe you were able to buy all that, and they like put together all this stuff while they're
sure.
Wild. Like,
Really what I run into is room. Like I have a garage. Half the garage is occupied by my wife's car, so we have the other half. So I can only like put so many things in there. I'm not going to put hammer strength machines, you know, in my garage.
But I've seen people like building the hack squats, getting leg presses, getting chest press machines. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I had Missy Truscott on the show
Hmm.
a little while back
Yeah.
before the Arnold, before all this happened, and like, we follow each other on Instagram, and I'm seeing her, and she's got a sweet setup at home. Like, so I was like, oh man, I wish I
Well, and
had
some
that.
people own like home gyms or like
Right.
whatever, so they're able to like bring stuff back, and you
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that
yeah,
going on
yeah.
too.
So how is your setup? Are you like, what have you been doing like
My
lately?
setup is actually pretty sweet. Before we kind of saw the writing on the wall towards
Mm,
the end of February. So before the madness began of everyone
started.
buying everything under the sun, I went on to Craigslist and I went on to Facebook Marketplace,
Yeah,
and I was able to get a whole bunch of weights, a whole
that's
bunch of bars,
smart.
a whole bunch of plates, benches, like all this stuff for like nothing. Because at that point, people weren't going nuts yet.
That's smart. Yeah.
So I want to say the end of February, beginning of March is when I spent about like 2, maybe 3 weeks kind of stocking up.
Mhm.
So we were able to get like a really nice setup in the
Cool.
basement.
So you have a basement that you just kind of put everything in?
Yeah, it's a shared basement. Myself and my neighbor,
Right.
we split the basement, but it's coincidentally earlier in February, my neighbor had suggested that we clean out the basement. So the whole thing had been cleaned out. So we had like all this room. So when
Right.
it came time to put all the equipment down there, we were able to. So it all
Yeah.
kind of just like worked out.
Worked out. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, you definitely did it at the right time because when I went, like it was everybody was trying to get to
Oh,
it,
we
and I
were
mean you
charging like
couldn't.
$300 for a plate. I'm like, get
Yeah.
out of here.
Well, see, and like I wouldn't even do it. Like I'm like, you know what?
I know.
I'll just do body exercises until these prices go down. So
How have you been
eventually,
dealing with it though? Like with your like what you have and
so we got, so me and my wife both trained there. So we got at our little home thing, we got some plates, we got some 45s, some 35s, some 25s, like barbells, the dumbbells, the ones that you can load, like, so they're
that's
not
what we
like
have too. Yeah, like
standard. Yeah.
yep. Hmm.
And we got a flat bench, and we just got some bands, some solid bands, and we've been just making it work. So it's not like, so I'm at a position right now myself, where like I think I have enough size that I want. Like I don't want
Hmm.
any more size. I'm not trying to put on any more size. So I think for me personally, it's the eating that's going to be like the main issue. Like,
Why?
um, just because like I have a very hard time leaning out. Like, so it's so like mass and like putting on muscle is not a problem for me. Like my body I just gain weight. Like it's not an issue, muscle and fat. So so for me, like the issue has always been like the getting the leanness in. How about you? Like, are you trying to put on weight now, or like
Well,
really?
I was gonna start like prep
Hmm.
in March.
Right.
But with the craziness, I'm like, well, I don't really like. Everyone kept holding out hope that it was going to happen. And I'm like,
Yeah.
do you see what's happening in Europe? That ain't happening. So
Yeah.
what I've been doing is essentially what I like to call like a slow prep. So instead of like
Mhm.
full prep mode where you're doing all this cardio and you're hungry all the time and you're like gonna
Right.
die, I've basically been doing like a really nice healthy loss of weight, which has been fantastic, and my strength's been going up. I've been hitting
Nice.
PRs. I'm fuller, like my muscle bellies are rounder. I'm really like seeing that shape that I've been working on building
Yeah.
while losing the body fat but keeping the weight up. So I haven't lost that much weight, but I've lost a lot of body fat, and my body
Like
composition is
inches and
so
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, my body composition is completely different. Like, all the lines are coming in, but the scale is essentially like not really
Not
moving,
really.
but I'm
Mhm.
totally okay with that. Like I'm
Yeah.
totally okay with that. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually like, while you're talking, I was just like kind of scanning through your pictures. Yeah. I mean, you look great. So it's like, do you usually hit like a certain weight when you're on stage? Like, are you trying to hit a certain weight when you're on
I'm always
stage?
trying to be heavier and leaner. Like I'm,
Okay.
I've got that bodybuilder mentality where I want to be as heavy as humanly possible and as lean as humanly possible. Because
Okay.
now with the conditioning levels you need for figure, you might as well do bodybuilding because it's just insane. Like,
Yeah, so yeah, that's that's kind of like an interesting topic on its own,
yeah.
because how everybody has been getting just bigger and leaner all throughout all the divisions. Every podcast I've had, and I've like last week I did a ton of podcasts, and we've always touched this subject about how like all the divisions, men and women, but you really see it in the women, is how everyone's gotten bigger and like leaner. Even bikini is now looking like figure did a few years ago, so. It's
Well, those top bikini girls, their shapes are unbelievable. I don't know how they
mhm.
do that. Like, I don't know how they get the taper of that waist and then their butt and their legs without the definition. It's just the shape is
Yeah.
amazing. Like I'm like, you're an alien. I don't know how you do that. It's so incredible because you look at their progress photos,
Sure.
from when they started out, and I am saying they collectively because the top bikini girls, I just think they're all amazing
Right, right.
because of the shape they're able to create is just I just think it's crazy. I have so much
Sure.
respect for that. It's just
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, I think it definitely, like when you talk about top tier in any division in any sport, like
Mhm.
you're looking at, genetic freaks essentially. Like you're looking at people who are genetically gifted on top of also
On
working,
top,
very hard.
exactly, the work ethic, the consistency,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah. That's that whole thing. So what do you think about like bodybuilding coming back and everything? Do you think that was a good idea, bad idea? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I
Women's bodybuilding.
I mean, I don't know. I just I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
because it's good. Like you have to see how it goes.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I understand why they took it away. They being the IFBB, like I
Right.
understand why they took it away. But it's weird because they want to bring it back, but yet everything else is getting so extreme. I feel like everything's just kind of like
Mhm.
meeting in this center area,
Right.
and the clear division, especially between figure and physique, is very slim.
Yeah, I mean, you
Very slim.
so Shanique Grant, it could go like either way. Like she could go like down, she could go up, she could go like she's, I think, yeah,
Genetically, her body is built for this. I mean,
yeah.
see her waist to shoulder ratio,
It's
it's
extreme. Her waist is so
unbelievable.
small.
And
Yeah,
the muscle, like, it's just it's really beautiful. Like,
yeah,
she's really amazing.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely no doubt, like that she's going to be winning that Olympia for a long time, as long as
I
that
would have loved to
division.
seen her and Juliana. That
Yes,
that is
that
I
would
was
have been
so
interesting.
looking forward to that. I was so looking forward to that.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
And
They were talking to I forgot who was talking to her, but they were talking to Lynn Bailey, and as you probably know, she won the first Olympia
yeah.
that division,
Do
and
you look at her photo though compared to now? I'm jumping in real quick, but like just
uh,
looking at that between when she won and what's going on now, you're like,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. That's what
yeah.
they were talking to her about like what do you think about like would you win, like would you win or be competitive in physique now? She's like, no. Like look at like the difference between like when she won and the girls now. It's
She's like,
so
have you
different.
seen the giants on stage? Like,
Yeah, I mean
have you?
she might be figure. Like I mean they're probably like that would be like her like size, at
Mhm.
this point, but yeah. So what about you? Like, do you think have you ever thought about like switching divisions, going up?
I have,
Because you have strong legs.
thank you. Yeah,
Mhm.
I have big legs. I love my
Mhm.
legs. I'm not gonna get rid of my legs.
Yeah.
Uh, my upper body, I've been working a lot on this off season because some girls like don't have to do biceps. Ivana Vucic, the woman hasn't done biceps in like 1,000 years, and she's got these big, beautiful peaks, and I'm like,
Yeah.
so unfair.
Yeah.
So I really, really have to work hard to build mass.
Hmm.
But that's something that I've really focused on this off season. I took a full year off, which coincidentally worked out for me with the Corona with the 2020. My
Right.
last show
Right.
was Toronto last year, and then I said, up until that point, I'd never actually had a proper like PCT, a proper off season where I'm
Hmm.
not looking towards the horizon for another show.
Sure.
So I shut it down, and it was like the best decision I've done in a long time.
Yeah.
And coming into prep, I was excited for it. Like I was looking forward to it, and I had a different sense of like motivation and giddiness about it. Like when you're like an amateur competitor, that's kind of how I felt. I was like really, really excited about it. But I lost my train of thought there. Where was I going? Oh, but so
Mhm.
anyway, in doing so, yeah, I've been really working on my upper body, and I love the posing of the women's physique division.
Mhm.
But again, coming back to the conditioning level, it's just really intimidating to think of. I mean, just how incredibly lean these physique women are. Because I mean, I know what I have to do to get my body ready for this stage and how lean I am, and to think that you have to take it like 2 or 3% further down the
Down.
line,
Yeah.
that just all, I mean, to me, it's like, it's just drugs. Like I just see drugs, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's definitely a lot of that. But like, so let's talk about that, the leanness. Like, I'm not a competitor and I would
Mhm,
consider myself an enthusiast. But
mhm.
so how do you get to that kind of lean or around that range of leanness? Like, even for you, like as a when you step on stage, like, oh, do you by the end are you just not like not eating anything? Like, but you know, like
So everybody's different. So I can't
mhm,
speak to anyone else except myself. But
mhm,
for me personally, our philosophy, I do say our, my husband and I work
sure.
together. He's been my prep coach. Our philosophy is that you feed the muscle and you burn the fat. So you can't starve away fat. It just doesn't work like that.
Okay.
And then if you also want to hang on to what you have. So in terms of food, I know that I'm a big eater. And even
Hmm.
during prep, like I get fed a lot. Like I do. Like I eat more than a lot of the other
Hmm.
girls do. On the other side of that coin is I also will go up to a much higher level of cardio than maybe some other competitors do.
I gotcha.
But that's because I'm eating more food.
Hmm.
And, you know, so for me, it's kind of a balancing act. I know that in terms of cardio, I have to get up to around hour and 45 to 2 hours a day towards the end.
Okay.
And for me, super high incline walking works great. I don't really like the Stairmaster,
Hmm.
maybe the elliptical, but for me, high incline walking. But once I get to that like 2 hour mark, that's really like how you get that last little percent off, because your body
Gotcha.
just doesn't want to let it go.
Gotcha. So, but initially you don't put in cardio that much, or you start cardio at the
Just like
very.
a slow buildup,
Mhm, mm.
you know?
And when you eat, when you say you're a big eater, where like primarily what's affects your fat, loss and stuff is carbohydrates, right? So what would you like? Like, do you just eat a lot of like protein and fats, or do you like, or you include carbs too
We
with?
include carbs. We include carbs through
Okay,
the whole
the whole
prep.
prep.
Yeah, through the whole prep. And towards the end, we play with diet a lot. So I want to say every like 2 or 3 weeks, we'll make a slight adjustment.
Hmm.
I don't do cheat meals. I just don't. That's just not what I do during prep. Like we'll do like a refeed day, but we've never really incorporated like dirty cheat meals or anything like that.
Right.
You know, really what it is, it's just the same basic bro foods that everybody eats. You just eat like less and less portions of it, but we
Hmm.
really make sure that we incorporate carbs pre, during, and post workout.
Hmm.
So we will never cut that out. Like we always keep those carbs in. And then, you know, we're basically like not afraid to feed me when, if I need food. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're not
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
starve me, so I'm getting that brain fog and the headaches, and you know, you're slacking at work, and like we
Hmm.
don't really like to bring the levels down
To
there.
that to that
I'll
point.
work more to make up for it. Like I'll
Right.
do the extra work so that I can actually be nourished during the day and not feel like I'm literally gonna die.
Have you ever been keto? Have you ever
Yes.
done keto? You
Yeah, we've
have?
done keto 2 times with
Mhm,
success. Yeah, I did it. I've done it twice before. We've run it for maybe like 5 to 8 weeks. We'll run it.
mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed keto because you don't get the cravings, you don't get the spikes, everything's,
Right.
you know, so I
Yeah.
had no problem with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried that before and that I had a really good success. As I told you, I have a hard time losing body fat
Mhm.
with keto that like I had really good success. Like it was really
If you work it, it will
impressive.
absolutely, I think it's a great way to lose weight.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what happened was I went off of it and then I never get back on. So I'm like, I need
That's the
to,
thing. That's the thing about keto that I like. I'm an all or nothing type personality, and
uh-huh.
keto's all or nothing. Like you can't. I'm gonna have a pretzel. Like, no, you're off keto, and now you
Yeah.
gotta wait another 2 weeks for it to kick back in.
Right.
So
Right.
when you're in it, you're in it. Like,
Yeah.
it's a commitment.
No, no, you're absolutely right. So
Yeah.
when did you get your pro card?
I got my pro card at North Americans in 2017.
So not that long ago. So and you've already from what I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've already been to the Olympia, correct?
I have,
You
correct.
have. So you won 2018?
2018, yeah, it was.
Okay.
So 2017, I won my pro card at North Americans. Then I competed the following year in 2018 at the New York Pro.
Mhm.
And then 2 weeks later, I competed in Toronto where I won and earned my way to the Olympia.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. That's like
Yeah, it happened really
goes
quick. Like,
in,
I was
yeah.
not, yeah, it was
And
like,
I didn't look up like where you placed in the Olympia. It was your first time. Where do you
I
remember
think
where you?
I was top 20, so I was in there somewhere, but I think I
That's
got
not bad.
call outs or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad at all for your first showing at the Olympia.
I was so
That was
happy
great.
to be there. It was a trip.
Yeah,
It was such a trip, man. Yeah, it was.
yeah. They're supposed to supposedly today. There's supposed to be some kind of announcement. They might have already
They
made it.
announced it, yeah.
So what was the announcement? I didn't check.
They're moving it to Planet Hollywood, which is pretty dope.
That's right. I did see it.
Planet Hollywood, mid-December.
Mid-December. So that was the word, like before the announcement was that it was going to be moved to
I was hearing
December.
rumors that it was going to get moved to December, and then I was like, that's got to be the announcement.
Yeah.
So
What do you think about that?
if it happens, it's dope.
Yeah.
I like Planet Hollywood, so I mean, if it happens, it's great. The logistics. I work for a boxing promotional company, so we have the stable of fighters, and then we put on the fights, and we work with the TV networks, and yada yada yada.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually come from a combat background myself. I was a wrestler and I did a lot of other stuff. But
Oh, nice.
yeah, that's cool. So do you guys do like you come from the standpoint of setting up the fights, or are you talking about like you have apparel and you sell apparel or anything like that?
Oh,
Which
no, the promoters are the ones who essentially like fund. They like, we have the stable of fighters, and then essentially you're funding the fight and you put on the fight.
okay, so you're a promoter. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
you're
didn't hear
responsible
that.
for like soup to nuts, like the whole fight week. You're
Gotcha.
doing all of the like the pre-event fights, and then you're also responsible for like the venue, the day of, and the TV production. Like, you're involved in that whole process. So
Yeah.
knowing that, like what goes into like a boxing match,
Right.
putting on an international sports event at a venue in Las Vegas just seems very difficult. Let's just start from like, how are people getting there? Are you excluding people from certain areas? I mean, like, let's just start there, like in terms of travel. Like,
Right.
I don't know. And then you want the best people to compete, and it's just, if not everyone can compete, it's just like not fair.
Sure. So here's the thing, like what I was thinking was that they had the Arnold, right?
Mhm.
And I actually was I was the day before I was going to leave, and I saw online.
Oh, you were gonna go?
Yeah, I was going to go, and I saw online that it was
Yeah,
quote
the
unquote
chaos,
canceled.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they had the Arnold, but the Arnold was already like, it was right at the beginning. Schwarzenegger fought very hard to have it. They
Oh,
weren't going to
sure.
do it. It was essentially for the athletes. There really wasn't much money, if any money, made. So that was like kind of at the initial point, right? So now we have the Olympia. We kind of already know what's going on. Is it even worth having? Because what about sponsors? Like, are you doing it only for the athletes? Or what about the money now? Like, because it's a business too. So how are you going to do that? All the festivities that come with the Olympia, like that's not going to happen.
I don't
You know
think
what
that's
I'm
gonna happen.
saying? So
That is
yes.
gonna happen.
So essentially you're having a show for the athletes, which is great. That's great. But it takes away a lot of the Olympia experience, so
Mhm.
I don't know. It's tough.
They're trying,
Yeah.
everyone's gonna, again, have an opinion about it, but I appreciate the fact that they didn't jump the gun.
Hmm.
And they kind of, people were like, why aren't the IFBB saying anything? I'm like, because they don't really know what's going on. I'm
Yeah.
like, and they don't want to start spreading rumors or
Sure.
making assumptions before they have something concrete they can kind of put their teeth into.
Yeah.
And at this point, they're really foreseeing being able to organize this event with the athletes and have some sort of show being put on.
Right, right,
I hope they still, for the sake of the athletes, they cover the costs of like the room and board and travel, which
right,
they've
right.
done in the past. But again, I don't know. It's different circumstances.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that I'm against it. I'm just curious on how all that is going to work, because somebody mentioned was that you could live stream it and then maybe like have
Like a
company.
pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, like a paper.
Mhm.
Speaking of that, and I know you're in combat sports here. The UFC just had UFC 249 on Saturday, so
Yeah.
they did it. It worked out. It was a good card, but it was different. I mean,
I didn't
they
see it. I didn't watch it.
okay.
My one coworker, I'm sure he watched it. He's like a
Yeah,
big
yeah. So
guy.
it was different because it was like no audience, right?
It's silent. It's weird.
Yes, silent. So you hear everything. You hear every punch being thrown.
Mhm.
Um, it it definitely takes away from the experience, but they did it, and it's like, is it so? What's going to happen? Are you just going to continue to have athletics without audiences? I
I
mean,
mean, that's a discussion that we have on a weekly basis,
yeah.
and we talk about in boxing. It, it's kind of like there's so many moving parts
Hmm.
that you even just come down to like, okay, so something as simple as like, well, we're going to have to test everybody, so how are you going to get all these tests? I'm not going to take it away from a hospital and give it to a boxing
Right,
promoter. I
right,
mean, the
right.
MLB isn't doing anything. They canceled the Olympics this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's kind of the undertaking of trying to put on one of these larger sports events. It's a lot,
yeah.
and it's a lot of liability. You don't want to be the cause of like a whole bunch of people getting sick.
Right, because I mean, it's definitely going to be like a bad rep on you if that happens. You could probably like imagine if like the UFC did it and then it came back that everybody got sick there. I mean, they probably wouldn't host another one for a while.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. What about like are you now like thinking like, okay, maybe I'll do like, do you have a show in mind that hasn't been canceled that you're gonna do? Like, are you?
So right now, honestly, I mean, I'm just kind of like going through this and assuming that nothing is going to happen before like August, September.
Hmm.
So if I'm just kind of targeting like the fall, um, well, I'm just going to continue to like prep and get ready. And then if like shows start to happen, I'm going to jump in and
Gotcha.
do one. But I'm not the type of person who like sets on a date and then that's the one I'm going to do, because I work in boxing. Fights happen and fights are made and matches are made. So I've always, my whole body, like professional bodybuilding career, worked it in between when I'm working with boxing. So like,
Sure.
sometimes like you want to do a show, but then you're like, oh, I don't know, I might have a fight, and vice versa.
Right.
So what I do is I always prep for a time period, see when all the shows are, and then when I jump in, I kind of just jump in.
I got you. So
That's
you
always how I've done
stay.
it.
So do you stay like what, 2 weeks usually out or
Yeah,
something like that, and
yeah,
then you can
yep,
just kind of
yep.
crush it for 2 weeks and
I
then
basically
get
like
in.
line up shows in like a block of like a 2 month period, and I'm like, okay, this is
Mhm.
where I'm looking at, and then I just get ready, and then when I jump in, I just kind of jump in.
Gotcha. That's
That's how
that's
I do.
smart. That's smart. I mean,
Yeah, it's just,
sometimes if you don't like, not everybody has a schedule where they can just you know prep like continuously through for a specific show. I mean, if you've got work, like, you know, in my case, like if I wanted to ever compete, I'd have to do it around my work. It's
mhm.
yeah. So, but that seems smart. Like because sometimes, especially with the men, like in the off season and stuff, they get so big that like it takes so long to get into like condition.
That
It's like
happens with women too. We're all
yeah,
getting older. Your body changes. What worked in prep last year doesn't guarantee it's going to work this year. So
yeah.
for me, I just always like to prep for a time period versus like
Hmm.
a particular show.
Yeah, yeah. How
That's my
how long do you see yourself still like competing?
until I don't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
I love it. I enjoy it. I love
Mhm.
the people. I love the camaraderie. I love the sport of it, and the competition is just like so much fun. I just
Yeah.
love being backstage with all these amazing athletes. Everybody looks so good. It's just so, like you're backstage and you're looking around, you're like, damn, we are all hot. Like we look
Yeah.
so freaking good right now, and you're taking
Yeah.
pictures with everyone. It's
Yeah.
just, I
It's
really do. Like,
cool.
I love it.
Yeah, it's
I love
cool.
the sport. I like competing, and I'll just keep doing it till it's not fun
Yeah.
anymore.
I kind of feel that way about the gym too. We were talking about gyms. It's like the only thing that I miss from trading like at home and at the gym is like there's other people there
I
that look
know.
good and like and
It's
I
motivating,
yeah,
right?
it's motivating. Yeah. So that's the only thing, but definitely cool. So do you do anything else? Like do you coach? Do you help people with nutrition? Anything like that? And
I am a certified personal trainer and a certified personal trainer.
yeah.
And during this quarantine time, I'm studying to become a orthopedic specialist
Oh
because
wow.
I
Okay.
love that. It's just, I find the body so interesting.
Yeah.
And, you really, you in personal training and bodybuilding, people are always in pain. People are always hurt. And the fact that it's one cohesive unit,
Hmm.
just kind of, I think a lot of people don't realize, they'll say, oh, my wrist hurts. And it's like, well, let's take a look at your scapula, and it's like
Hmm.
everything's connected to each other. And in, injuries that I've come across and learning about my own body, it's just, I think it's so important for bodybuilders to at least have like a basic understanding of, biomechanics and how your
Hmm.
body functions
Yeah.
in and of itself. Because just because your knee hurts, it's probably not your knee. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
myriad of other things it could be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, biomechanics is an interesting thing. I was
mhm.
watching this. You might not know who it is, but she's like an 8-time Muay Thai champion, Miriam Nakamoto, and she was posted something where like a person who was, I guess, a biomechanics specialist was looking at one of her old fights, and I mean, he was pointing out these little nuances of how she steps and how
Uh-huh.
it's affecting her hip
Oh yeah.
and all that. Like it was so interesting to
It's
watch that.
amazing, right?
Yeah, and but I mean, but it's real, right? So it's like, so if you
Mhm.
don't pay attention to that stuff, it might not affect you at that moment, but you do that for a continuous
Oh, down
time.
the line, you'll be feeling
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. So very cool, very cool. So at this point, I just want to give you an opportunity. Like, so if someone wants to contact you for like any kind of training help, nutrition help, anything else, how would they do that? Go ahead and like, if you want to put your plugs in.
Yeah, I mean, you could just hit me up on Instagram at Mrs. Sullivan. And I believe that on my Instagram, my email address is posted
Mhm,
as
I believe
well.
so. Yeah, I
So,
believe so.
you could always just shoot me an email, just DM me for any questions or, anything like
Yeah,
that. And
awesome.
I'm here and I got time. I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
time to answer
Everybody's got
questions.
time now. Everybody's got time. All right. Well, hey, Alexis, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on
this has
the
been
show.
great.
I really appreciate it. This is awesome, and I'll let you know when everything posts and everything. So I'll tag you on it.
Thank you very much. No, I really appreciate it. And I really hope that you and your family stay safe and, we'll see where this thing
Yeah,
goes.
we'll get through it.
We'll
So we'll
get
get
through
through
it eventually. We'll see. We'll see where it
it.
goes.
You stay safe too. Take care.
All right. Take care.